Genesis 41, verse 38. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. That's whenever Joseph, he explained what that dream meant. And the Pharaoh is telling him he's wise. Now he about to promote him. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. So basically what the Most High did, he basically had Joseph teaching all of Egypt. Y'all see that? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. The land is the ministry. He took over the doctrine and changed it to suit him. He started teaching the people because all of those people who had the land before, all of those advisors, they couldn't figure out their dream. They couldn't understand how to save the people from that famine. They didn't understand anything. But Joseph's doctrine was powerful. Y'all don't know that because y'all looking at the Bible carnal. But they started following God under this Pharaoh during Joseph's time. Y'all see that? Verse 42. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand. Ring is like a covering. Y'all see that? That's something you wear. Arrayed him with vesture and fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. Right? So all that's talking about his doctrine. Okay. He tried to cover Joseph with his doctrine, but he gave Joseph power over the doctrine. Y'all see that? So Joseph, our forefather, was a teacher too. He was teaching the Egyptians. Y'all see that? All our forefathers taught the Gentiles. Joseph was teaching the Gentiles in Egypt. I know y'all see that. All right. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee, and he made him ruler over the land of Egypt. The land is the ministry. Joseph converted the Egyptians to the Most High. That's why he said, take my bones out of here when y'all leave. His bones is the doctrine. Bones mean law, spiritually. That's why they took his bones. They took his law with them. Because Joseph was teaching until a new king who didn't know about him came along and he started doing what he wanted to do. But all up until that time, they was following what Joseph was teaching them. Y'all see that? It was a famine in the land. He was providing the food. I know y'all see that. Okay. Nonetheless. But a chariot is a powerful leader in the king's house. So he was second chariot to the king. All right. So he understood doctrine. Y'all see that? Let me give you another example. Exodus chapter 14 and verse 5. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled. This is whenever the Pharaoh later on let the children of Israel out of Egypt. And the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains, every one of them. You see that? Those powerful men with their doctrine. Y'all see that? We're going to drop down to verse 17. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get my honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. Horsemen, teachers. The horsemen ride the chariot. They the teachers. They the ones smart in the doctrine. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I have gotten my honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. He's talking about something that's getting ready to happen. This only a precursor, a shadow of things to come. That's why we teaching y'all. Y'all got to fight these chariots. Okay, so let's go back to 1 Kings. Get a little bit more information about Solomon. Verse 27. So we were talking about Solomon had 40,000 stalls for horses and chariots and 12,000 horsemen. So that's talking about he had churches and he had teachers for those churches. And those officers provided victual for King Solomon. Victual is food. Y'all get that? So they're teachers. And for all that came unto Solomon's table, every man in his month, they lacked nothing. So all of them had a lot of understanding. Y'all see that? Verse 28. Barley also and straw for the horses. So they was feeding the congregants too. That's what those prophets supposed to be doing with their congregants, but they're not teaching them anything. And dromedaries are camels. Okay, so we told you earlier, dromedaries, that's flocks. It's talking about the same thing. Brought they unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. So they were saying that those officers was responsible for teaching the people. Verse 29. And God gave Solomon wisdom. All right, so he was smart. And understanding is exceeding much. And largeness of heart. Your heart is your mind. Even as the sand that is on the seashore. Okay, so he had a lot of understanding. Verse 30. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt. So no doctrine exceeded his wisdom. His wisdom was more, his wisdom exceeded the doctrines of Egypt and all around. Drop down to verse 34. And there came of all people, to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all kings of the earth, which had heard his wisdom. Solomon was teaching everyone. He taught everyone. Everyone. It's a reason why Solomon was set up. He was setting up that Tabernacle of David. That's the Tabernacle of David. David taught him. Remember, I told you, David was a powerful teacher. He had that doctrine from Jesse. David was powerful in his understanding. He passed that understanding on to Solomon as well, because the Most High chose Solomon to build his house. Because David, he forced the people to convert. Whereas Solomon didn't have to do that. Kind of means something. We're going to read 1 Chronicles chapter 22. So you can see David set it up. 1 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 1. Then David said, "This is the house of the Lord God, and this is the altar of the burnt offering for Israel." And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Israel. Strangers in the land the ministry of Israel, and he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of God. So he set it up. Didn't he just say the strangers was hewing stone? Y'all know what hewing means. It's breaking off them rough edges. They teach us. The strangers was teaching the Israelites. Y'all see that? I know y'all see. Let me read it again. Verse 2. First Chronicles chapter 22, verse 2. And David commanded to gather together the strangers, Gentiles, that were in the land of Israel. That land is the ministry. They understood the ministry. And he set masons. A mason is a craftsman, right? To hew wrought stones to build the house of God. So they was in charge of breaking the rough edges off of them prophets. They was teaching the prophets. The strangers were. And that's what they gonna do again. That's why we teaching y'all. The Most High say he gonna raise up that tabernacle from the ruins. Y'all part of that raising. We gotta do the same thing. And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails for the doors of the gates, and for the joining, and brass in abundance without weight. Also cedar trees. Y'all know what trees are. Trees are men. We read it out of Mark 8 and 24. Also trees in abundance for the Zidonians, and they of Tyre or Tyre, whatever, brought much cedar wood to David. He was converting them people too. That's why the king of Tyre and Solomon was working together, because he was working with David first. Y'all see that? David's tabernacle included other nations. Y'all see that? And David said, Solomon my son is young and tender, and the house that is to be builded for the Lord must be exceeding magnifical, of fame and of glory throughout all countries. I will therefore now make preparation for it. So David set it up. That's why it's the Tabernacle of David. Y'all see that? Solomon built it, but David set it up. So David prepared abundantly before his death. Y'all see that? That's why it's called the Tabernacle of David. He couldn't build it because he forced the people. Y'all know trees are men, and whenever we read 1 Peter 2, you knew that the stones are men too. All right, let's get 1 Peter 2 again so y'all can remember that. Y'all heard the one about the trees. But let's get 1 Peter 2. Verse 1. Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and all evil speaking, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. If so be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men. He was disallowed by the Pharisees, but chosen of God and precious. Ye also as lively stones, talking about men, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. That by Jesus Christ's example. 1 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 6. Then he called Solomon, his son, and charged him to build an house for the Lord God of Israel. And David said to Solomon, my son, as for me, it was in my mind to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God. But the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Thou hast shed blood abundantly, and hast made great wars. Thou shalt not build an house unto my name, because thou hast shed much blood upon the earth in my sight. Now that means something. We're going to get it here in a second. Behold, a son shall be born to thee, who shall be a man of rest. Ooh. And I will give him rest from all his enemies round about. For his name shall be Solomon, and I will give peace and quietness unto Israel in his days. He shall build my house for my name, and he shall be my son, and I will be his father, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever. All right? Now, it said that David basically explained that he killed or basically converted the men by force to the Most High. That's why the Most High didn't want him to build that house, because he built it with force. That's the carnal law. Okay? Back in the day, hey, if you didn't do the carnal law, the punishment was death, stoning, and all that other stuff. But it changed with Christ. But now Solomon, after David, is converting people with peace. He's got peace all around him that signifies something. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10. Y'all have heard it, but y'all ain't never put it together like this. The Most High wants you to know what he's saying. All right? Get this thing, put it together. Get this doctrine. Write this down. All right? Verse 36. And it reads, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. Used to be you was forced. Now you got to choose. Just like before David converted you by the sword. Now you get the right to choose. The Most High ain't forcing nobody to take up this covenant. Just like when Solomon became king, he didn't force nobody to do nothing. Right? He was at peace. But Solomon knew how to explain it, where the people accepted what he said. All right? Just like when Christ came, he knew how to explain it. Y'all see the correlation? John chapter 20. We gonna get it. I think y'all starting to see something. It's happening again. Solomon didn't force nobody. Christ didn't force anybody. And now that we got Christ's doctrine, we ain't forcing anybody. You can believe what you want to believe. The choice is yours. John chapter 20, verse 24. It's talking about a famous prophet. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. Y'all get the correlation? And after 8 days, again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, peace be unto you. And then saith he to Thomas, reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands. Reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, my Lord and my God. Now this is what Jesus said, the same thing we saying. Jesus says unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. There ain't gonna be no sign. You just gonna get this word. Either you gonna believe the word or not. Thomas had the ability to get an example from Christ. Christ showed himself. Y'all ain't gonna get that. So you just gonna have to believe. Everybody don't have the capacity to believe like that. But now it's different. It's spiritual. It's not carnal anymore. We're under the spiritual doctrine. Just like it was carnal under David, he forced them. Under Solomon, they had peace to decide. He explained it to them. Christ explained it to them. We're explaining it to you. But we don't have holes in somebody's hand and holes in somebody's side to convince you what we're saying is true. Let's hope that you have the capacity to believe nonetheless. We're going to Luke chapter 11, verse 29. And when the people were gathered thick together, he began to say, this evil generation, they seek a sign, and there shall no sign be given but the sign of Jonas the prophet. For as Jonas was a sign unto the Ninevites, Jonas came with the word. Them people didn't understand the word. He told them the Most High was going to destroy that place. Them people heard that word and they said, oh, we need to get it together. Maybe the Most High repents. Hey, call a fast. Maybe you don't know, the Most High might repent. When they heard that word, they changed. Y'all understand that? Y'all ain't gonna get no sign either. Y'all see that? For as Jonas was a sign unto the Ninevites, so shall also the Son of Man be for this generation. You're going to have to take his word. The word. He's the word. The word that I'm speaking to you, that's your sign. Now look what else it says. Verse 31. The queen of the south. Who's the queen of the south? The queen of the south is the queen of Sheba. She came to see Solomon. Guess what? She ain't no Israelite. She Ethiopian. Guess what? He converted her. She's not an Israelite, but he converted her. Guess what he says she gonna be doing? The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them, for she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. He just said, she gonna judge the wicked. Y'all see that? That means she got the kingdom. Y'all see that? Keep believing these lies these people telling you. The queen of Sheba converted. And it's Christ said, that's in red. Christ said she gonna judge this generation. That means she waiting. She got the kingdom. She died doing the law. She converted. Y'all see that? Verse 32. And the men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. Whenever Jonah got over there and he preached to them people in Nineveh, they converted. Let me read it again. And the men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. They gonna judge y'all. The people who don't convert, they gonna get judged by the Ninevites. But how can they be able to judge? They're not Israelites. But they converted when Jonah preached to them. Don't y'all see that? The Gentiles can get the kingdom. It's all over the Bible. These men are lying. I'm proving it. The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, for they repented at the preaching of Jonas. And behold, a greater than Jonas is here. He telling you they repented, and Jonas was not teaching the spiritual law. Jonas was teaching a different law. He was teaching because Christ hadn't came. They was under the carnal law. But those people heard that word and they converted. They repented. And they died and got the kingdom. They gonna judge these wicked people who telling these lies. Ninevites are not Israelites. Y'all see that? Jonah was a teacher. He was teaching everybody. He tried not to teach, just like these guys are. That's why the Most High had to jack him up. The story of Jonah talking about something else that y'all don't know. It's talking about a man who didn't teach the people, and how the Most High hounded him for that. That's what's happening right now. At least Jonah had sense enough to get right and start teaching. But these fools around here, they keep telling lies. Only the Israelites gonna get the kingdom. Them Gentiles and them white folks, all them people gonna die here. Okay. Don't teach them. We teaching them because we fear the Most High. But let's move right along here. We've explained to you, when David died, the land was at peace. So Solomon didn't have to deal with any wars. That's representative of the carnal teaching of the Most High's doctrine at the edge of the sword, and peace, the spiritual teaching of the Most High's doctrine. Solomon, like Christ, taught during peace. Christ did not force people to follow him. Y'all see that? I hope y'all see that. It's a distinction between carnal and spiritual. Y'all see that? Okay. So now let's go to 1 Kings so we can get caught up on what Solomon actually did. Solomon and Hiram. We're going to go to 1 Kings 5 and we're starting at 1. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David. Look at that. Hiram was working with David before he died. That's letting you know David was working with everybody. He was teaching that law to everybody. He was closing up them breaches. Everybody got taught the Most High's doctrine. Don't believe these people, they're lying. And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, Thou knowest how that David my father could not build a house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. And behold, I purpose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom I will sit upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto my name. So it's basically saying Hiram sent servants to Solomon after David died. Hiram was told by David that Solomon would build the house of the Lord, aka the Tabernacle of David. Right? That's what it's talking about when the Bible's saying the Tabernacle of David. It's talking about building the house of the Lord, a spiritual house. Don't get caught in him building that temple. That temple is a building that was broken down. Nobody ain't even talking about that temple. They went and rebuilt that temple over there. Most High don't dwell in no buildings. It ain't talking about that building. It's that building of that temple signified something. All right. David was at peace with Hiram. They worked together. Jew and Gentile worked together. Y'all see that? The Bible is telling you something. It's going to happen again. We're starting the process right now. So let's go to verse 6. Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedars out of Lebanon. Now y'all know, whenever y'all was watching that video about the oath, we talked about when Joshua put those Gibeonites in the slavery, so called. He said they would be hewers of wood and drawers of water. Hewers of wood are teachers. They gonna teach the trees. The trees are men. We just read it not long ago that trees are men. Mark 8:24. Trees are men. When you see the Bible talking about trees, it's talking about men. I'm going to read it again. Now therefore verse 6. Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thy servants. See that? So the Israelites and the Gentiles, they're using the example of the king of Tyre, which is an African. So the Gentiles and the Israelites going to work together, because he said, and my servants shall be with thy servants, and unto thee will I give hire for thy servants, according to all that thou shalt appoint. So he's going to hire them. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Zidonians. He's saying them Zidonians some bad teachers. They know how to teach. He's giving them a compliment. They know how to train up prophets. Y'all see that? That's what y'all gonna be doing. And it came to pass, when Hiram heard the words of Solomon, that he rejoiced greatly. Y'all see that? And said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which has given unto David a wise son over this great people. They were honored to teach the Most High's word. Honored to teach those prophets. Y'all see that? And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I have considered the things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all thy desire concerning timber of cedar and concerning timber of fir. Those are trees. Men. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon into the sea. Sea is where all the doctrines at, all right? When you see, that's the word. A lot of different doctrines in the sea. It's a big body of water. All right, so it's a lot of different doctrines in the sea. And I will convey them by sea in floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me. And I will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire in giving food for my household. So he's saying, I'm gonna bring the trees. You give me the food in return. That means something. But he said he was gonna send them by float. So that means they're going to send them by ship. So y'all got to understand what the ships mean. All right? So I'm going to give you the understanding of ships here. I think Elder Samuel might have said something about it once before, about what ships are. But I'm going to give it to you again. We're going to Proverbs chapter 30, verse 19. Now listen. He's comparing one thing to another. One thing to another. So you're going to get it whenever we get to the end of it. The way of the eagle in the air. The way of the serpent upon a rock. The way of a ship in the midst of the sea. So he's comparing a ship to the sea, right? The way of a man with a maid. Okay? So, a man with a maid is a man with a doctrine. A ship in the midst of the sea is a man and a doctrine. A serpent upon a rock is a man and a doctrine. The way of the eagle in the air is a man and a doctrine. I hope y'all see that. So a ship in the midst of the sea is like a man with a maid. A ship is a man with a doctrine. Y'all see that? A ship is a man with a doctrine. So he gonna float the trees is he gonna teach the trees. Y'all see that? The doctrine. Y'all see that? Let's try another one. John 21. Maybe this will be easier for you. A ship is a man with a doctrine. All right? A ship is a man with a doctrine. We're going to go to John chapter 21 and verse 8. And the other disciples came in a little ship, for they were not far from land, but as it were 200 cubits, dragging the net with fishes. Fish. Meat. Understanding. That's a doctrine. So, men in a ship dragging understanding. The doctrine. Y'all see that? A ship is a man with a doctrine. Luke chapter 5. See if we can use this one. I hope y'all get it. Luke chapter 5, verse 1. And it came to pass that as the people pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake at Gennesaret and saw two ships standing by the lake. Two ships standing by the lake. But the fishermen were gone out of them, and were washing their nets. And he entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. The ship is a man with a doctrine. Do y'all see that? The ship is a man with a doctrine. That's what a ship is. All right. So let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 5. And we stopped at verse 9. Right. So that's where he said he was going to convey the trees on the ship. That means he going to teach them the doctrine. All right. The different trees that he sent by that float or that ship. So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desire. That's verse 10. Verse 11. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year. Solomon gave Hiram understanding. 20,000 measures of wheat. Wheat is food. Understanding. For his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. I told you, the Most High uses liquids. Oil is understanding. Y'all see that? Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year. And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he promised. And there was peace between Hiram and Solomon. And they two made a league together. Y'all see that? They was following the same covenant. They was joined. Y'all see that? They was working together. Both servants of the Most High. Y'all see that? All right. So now let's go to verse 13. And it says, and Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. Levy translates to laborers. Verse 14. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses, laborers. Y'all see that? A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. Adoniram was over the levy, so he was the officer over that labor force. And Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens. So he got laborers, and he's got people who bear burdens, and 70,000 hewers in the mountain. Y'all know what them hewers are. Beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work. 3,300 which ruled over the people that wrought the work. Y'all see that? Those were the chief leaders, like the elders, over the work. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house. They were teaching those men the doctrine. The stones are men. And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builder did hew them. They worked together. That means the Gentiles was teaching the people, just like the Israelites were. Y'all see that? And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers, so they prepared timber and stone to build the house. They worked together to build that church, that congregation. Everybody learned that doctrine. Y'all see that? Y'all got to see this. So when it's saying he had 30,000 laborers, 10,000 per month. So a laborer is a specific person. What do you think a laborer is? Let's go to Matthew 9. Because all of them things saying the same thing. It's telling you something. Let's go to Matthew chapter 9. So you can find out what these laborers are. Matthew chapter 9, verse 37. Then saith he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. Laborers are prophets. Y'all see that? They teachers. So Solomon was sending teachers to convert these peoples. He was sending 10,000 a month down there to teach them people, to convert them people. Y'all see that? Luke chapter 10, verse 1. After these things, the Lord appointed other 70 also, and sent them 2 and 2 before his face into every city and place wherewith he himself would come. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. Solomon was sending prophets. He has 7,000 that bear burdens. Prophets bear the burdens of the people as well. 80,000 hewers, prophets, in the mountains, congregation. 3,300 chief leaders, elders. They brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house. They had to go and teach all them people to rebuild this house of the Lord. That's what y'all gonna do. You're gonna have to teach the people. You have to learn the doctrine to teach the people. And the Israelite builders, teachers, together with the Gentile builders, teachers, hewed timber and stone to build the house of God. They worked together to build the house of God. That's what that means.